Alright everyone, so here's my plan of what I'm going to make tonight. And I'm going to have to do it in a couple of steps because there's only 2 burners in here, and these bigger pans, I can only fit one over there at a time. So I'm going to have to make things in little steps, put them here on paper plates and mix them together and heat it all up at the end. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to heat up 1 cup of water with these 2 broth cubes, and when I have the broth, I'll put another cup of the instant rice in there. Once that's cooked, I'll probably dump it out into a plate so I can reuse the pan. Then I'm going to fill that up with some water, and we're going to hydrate this freeze-dried beef. And then once that's hydrated, we'll dump it out of the pan so we can use the pan once again. And then I'm going to use this frying pan, put some butter in it, and I have some vegetables and chicken. I'm going to drain the juices out of these cans, put them in there, fry them a little bit, brown the edges, mix the beef, the chicken, the vegetables, the rice, mix it all together into like a fried rice, and add some of this stuff here to make it taste good. I've done the same thing at home, but usually I'll use more pans so I can do it all at once. Season it with some pepper, Italian season, and add some spice to it. People have asked me in camping videos, why do you bring more than 1 knife? That's in case I contaminate something with like raw juices. And I don't have a great way of cleaning it. And that's just some of the Japanese sauce. So I think the first thing we're going to start off with is the rice, like I said. So I'm going to just have to eyeball it. I forgot a measuring cup. I'm going to pour what I think is a cup of water in there and what I think is a cup of rice once it's boiling. And if I add a little too much water, I can dump a little bit of it out once it's done expanding, or I can add a little bit towards the end because it's going to be like double cooked. It's going to be fried after it's done cooking. Let me reach over here. So I'm going to try to put 1 inch of this and then 1 inch of rice later. So let's see. About 1 inch. Yep. Let's go ahead and put this onto the burner. It'll take a little bit of time for it to start boiling. I wish I had another tiny pot, but I don't, so we'll just do this in a couple of steps. We're not burning hot enough. Gotta try to add some more. Bunch of little things in here. Maybe we can pull some of this forward. Or up, maybe it'll work. Get some air between there. It's burning good, but we need the flames to get bigger in there. So I'll stick a bunch of smaller stuff in. Try to do that. That stuff caught really fast. Fire is roaring, but this cooking stove, every time I've ever used it, it kind of sucks. It takes forever to boil water. It's been almost 20 minutes and it's still not boiling. And the temperature has now gone up to 55. All right, I'm gonna grab one of my pot holders so I can come over here and put my stuff. This is finally began to boil. The cubes have dissolved. It's now getting very hot in here, especially next to the stove. Pour some rice in there. That looks like an appropriate amount, huh? Yeah, maybe not enough, maybe a little more. Good. Let that absorb for like 5 minutes, and then I will go go ahead and reuse the pot for something else. Right here, I got this all prepared. The butter's actually melting because it's so close to the stove. It's actually that warm in here. Everything's hot to the touch right around the stove. And that right there is proof that I'm not a vampire. That's a lot of garlic. I thought, might as well use it because I might end up wasting it if I don't. I love eating garlic cloves whole once they cook. And I also got this stick over here, which will be for frying all the vegetables later on. Got everything prepared. So, just waiting on this. Give that a few minutes to completely absorb everything. Absorb the broth, makes it taste a little better instead of just plain water. I'll dump that onto a plate. I gotta open the plates up. Then we're gonna start making some of this. All right, I think the water's gonna boil faster this time once we get that going again, because look, we're operating in the too hot range, but it's okay. Even if we started a chimney fire, this whole place is metal. I'm just gonna run it hot like that. Temperature in here has got up to 68. All right, let's get this out. That's gonna be hard to get all that out. I don't have a spoon or anything, so I'll just use a little bit of water, gush it out of there, throw it outside. Just dump that outside. All right, that washed it out perfectly. Now we're gonna put some water in here, get it to a boil again. Don't think it'll take as long this time, because we're a lot hotter. That thing is running extremely hot inside. It's way over temperature, but not a single bit of smoke. It burns so clean when it's at these temps. Now down low, see there's a bunch of pieces of ash and stuff. That right there is basically creosote from last time we used it, and now that we're suddenly applying heat, it's crinkling off and just flowing up and landing somewhere. If we look at the edges of the pipe, you can even see a heat signature. That thing is boiling hot. All right, time to grab this off the stove. Nice and hot. Hot enough to add some of our ground beef. This stuff tastes really good, actually, and it tastes just like the fresh stuff once it is made, or once it absorbs. That's enough. Now I'll just drain excess water in 15 minutes. That takes 15 minutes for that to start going. Now I can start heating up that frying pan and start frying the vegetables, since this is all we need that little pan for. Give it a quick stir, just like that. Now this is a big pan, so it's going to take up both burners like this, or almost both of them. Once that butter starts melting, I'll throw the vegetables in there. So in the meantime, I got to go ahead and grab my can opener, which I haven't used in a while, covered in spider webs. Got to open this up, and we're going to set it right outside the door for about 5 minutes until the butter's done melting. Just so it can drain the juices out. Keep it like that, let it drain. Same with the chicken. Pop it just a little bit. We're gonna set it outside the drain. All right, coming over here to the door. Gotta open it up. Still got a little bit of daylight. So I just gotta find a place to put these so they can drain. All right, I'll put one of them there at an angle. And I'll put the other one here. Oh. No big deal. Not much of it spilled. And I'll just leave that one tilted right there, and I'll be back at it in like 5 minutes. Back inside, we're about half melted with the butter. Probably more butter than we needed. Yeah, definitely more butter than we needed. Oh. All right, everyone, this is nice and hot. The butter has now completely melted. Let me walk outside and grab those cans. I'm gonna leave the door open while we cook because it's pretty hot in here. I found a pan lid that will fit this because this is probably gonna splatter a lot. It looks pretty clean. Don't see any mouse poop on it. Let's get this open now. Come on. There we go. Well, it did flare up as much as I thought. Not as hot as I thought it was going to be. Let's open up the canned chicken. Start frying that stuff together. We don't need the cover yet. I'll stir that around every now and then. Just want to brown the edges a bit. In a couple of minutes, I'll drain the hamburger meat, add that and the rice in together when this is fried up. Even though this is overheating, it's not producing that much cooking heat, so I'll probably stir this around for twice or 3 times as long as I would typically do at home. Is there enough room to put the fish on there without it looking like it's gonna fall off? Yeah, that's stable enough. We can at least get that heated. We're obviously gonna have to keep spinning the pan around because there's more heat on this side. But once that starts getting heated up, this will trap heat and cook relatively fast once it's heated. Gotta stir the rest of the food. That butter will probably make it taste really good. Usually at home I'll use olive oil, but didn't bring any. Just had a stick of butter. It'll probably taste better with the stick of butter. Gotta check on the fire. Oh, it's still very hot in there. It's still overheating, but the flames are just about gone. It's running like a little rocket stove. It's just glowing red embers in there. Just throw one log in every now and then. Kick it around a little bit in there. Add a log. It's now too hot to touch, so I gotta use this little handle right here which closes it. It actually runs a little hotter if the door is slightly cracked. But it's not secure that way, so it could just blow open. Alright, I think it's been long enough for this meat here. So I don't have a strainer, so we're going to put this over it and try to hug it as much as possible while pouring the liquids out. If this is summertime, these meat juices would attract a bear. And this stuff, I swear, it tastes just like actual fresh hamburger meat. Except, obviously, in this form, it's not raw, so you can't cook it into a patty very easily at all, but it makes awesome sloppy joes and awesome tacos, and it's got a 30-year shelf life in that can if it's unopened. 1-year shelf life when you open it. Alright, we got this now. And I'll clean that when I get home. Every now and then this truck makes a loud bang because it's going from being extremely cold to very warm in here. The sheet metal walls, you hear them buckle every now and then from the expansion as it heats up. Just waiting for that to hopefully get a little hotter. I'm not able to really sear the edges of all that stuff. This thing doesn't produce enough heat, even though it's saying 600, no, it's saying 510. How's the other one doing? Is that heating up at all yet? Oh, the butter melted. That's a good sign. Let me just move it around to make sure the butter's underneath the fish. Then it won't get stuck. Now that the butter's melted, I just want to... Oh, it's almost completely melted. Not completely. There's really not much heat in here yet. But let's get that butter all over everything. So nothing's sticking. Nice. Close that up. As soon as that's done, we'll put this over on the full heat. I think I'm just going to go ahead and add everything else in there because I think if we keep slow cooking, we're going to make these vegetables so soft that they fall apart. You need a lot of burner heat to sear them like I was trying to do. Can't do it. This thing just does not produce enough heat even when it's overheating. So I think we're going to add everything, mix it together, let it cool, eat that, and this should be done not too far after. See, it is already cooking in there despite not having much heat. Oh, and oh boy, that fish, that smells real good. All right, here we go. We're going to add the hamburger. We're going to add the rice right on top of that. And this will just discard into the fire. And I'm going to put some seasoning on that. I'm going to start off with the pepper. This is way too slow. I wish I brought regular ground pepper. At least this one I can take the top off and sprinkle what I want on there without having to vigorously shake it forever. The Italian seasoned one, at least it comes out very fast. Put a bunch of it on there. Mix it around the whole pot. And now we're gonna add some of this sauce that makes it taste really good. Go ahead and put a whole ton of that on there. Now we're gonna go ahead and mix it around. I may even put more of that stuff. We'll see how far it goes. And we gotta mix all the meat, vegetables, rice together. Mix it all around, all that seasoning. Heat this stuff back up. The rice is still, for the most part, pretty hot. All right, look, that came together nice. Well, that smells real good. That rice also looks really good. Let's zoom into that a little bit while I stir it some more. I'm gonna add just a little bit more of that sauce in there. And I think that will make it. That'll be good. Mix it around. Just a little more. I'm about to take it off the burner. This is very hot, so this is gonna take a while to cool. Here we go, nice and mixed around. We're gonna get that off. This pot's already hot enough I can barely touch it. Get that over to full heat. In like 10 minutes I'll flip the pieces of fish. Another 10 minutes it should be done. Then we're gonna open on up the firebox, throw this stuff inside. Look at that, red hot in there. Finally cooking good. Next time I come out here I just gotta remember, let this thing heat up a little bit more. Open the flue more, because we're getting a little smoke in with the excess flame. I bet that's gonna smell like burnt toast outside, if you can even smell it. It's pretty still, so the smoke's going straight up. But I bet if I did smell it, this is probably gonna smell like burnt toast. Look at that, we got a big flame going up the flue. Let's go outside and see how it's doing. Don't smell anything, don't see anything. It's burning very, very clean. Let's come back into the truck. This rice looks delicious, still very hot. Let's go over here and gotta stir this. The next time coming over, it might be too hot to actually touch that lid. That fish is looking good. Got garlic is gonna be good. Is the garlic cooking? Nah, the garlic's not really cooked yet. Probably should have thrown the fish in afterwards a little bit. Trying to flip it without ripping it. It's just so tender. There we go. Flip it. Flip it. Even with the butter, it's still kind of sticking to the bottom. All right, let that sit in there for another 10 minutes and hopefully the garlic will be cooked enough. All right, so that's no longer hot enough where it needs the pot holder. We're gonna go get the other pot. Grab another pot holder, because this is a very heavy pot. Don't know if I can even do it like this. Come on, don't drop it. Oh, ouch. Banged my knee on the door. Let's see how it came out. That looks good. Yummy. I'll let that cool and we'll make ourselves a plate. This food is still pretty hot to eat, so I'm gonna put some onto a plate and I'm gonna wait a little while before I eat it. Let it cool. Yeah, that's still pretty hot. That looks really good. We got some beef, chicken, carrots, peas, beans, corn, all mixed together into this nice rice. Go ahead and grab myself a piece of fish. That pot's still a little hot to touch. I think I can wedge it between my knife and my fork, hopefully without tearing it apart. Don't have a spatula. All right, there we go. Nice piece of fish. Go ahead and grab some garlic. I'll use this little cup that's sitting here on the table. Grab some of those garlic cloves. I love whole garlic cloves. Let me poke them with a stick or the fork. Oh, good. They're nice and cooked. Not overcooked, but they're not hard anymore. Put some garlic cloves on there. I'm gonna be very stinky when I start sweating tomorrow with all this garlic. It takes like 5 days for me to get it out of my system when I have a lot of garlic or onions like this. Here we go. Yummy. Look at that. I'll give you a close-up look and then I'll wipe this table down after because I know I spilled a little bit of grease there. All right, so here's tonight's meal. We got the salmon that still has the fish skin on it. We have a bunch of garlic cloves. We got it was supposed to be fried rice. I don't know if you can still call it that, but it had a lot of butter and stuff added to it, so I'm sure it's gonna be really good. I'll give that like 10 minutes to cool. Over here we got more rice, and we have a second serving of fish. If I'm still hungry, I'll have a second serving. If not, there's gonna be a very lucky raccoon or fox. All right, everyone, so it's been about 10 minutes. Outside feels nice and refreshing after being in this hot box. But I just went ahead and shut the door. We're going to see how warm it gets in here. The wood stove is now operating down at a normal temp. And I forget what I was going to say, but I'm going to start eating now. So here we got some garlic. Come on. Boop. Well, that piece is a little undercooked for my liking, but this one is soft. Good. With some of that rice. Got some of the hamburger in there. Now we got a piece of chicken and hamburger. These little chunks of hamburger remind me of the sausage that they put on pizza. Kinda. But it doesn't taste like sausage. It tastes like hamburger meat. That fried rice is awesome. I've never made it with butter before. I usually use vegetable or olive oil. Let's eat some of it with the garlic. Oh, I felt a pepper flake. That was spicy. The garlic mixed into the rice is so good. Try a chunk of that fish. That fish is good. The fish is still real hot. Yummy. Gotta eat some of that fish with the garlic. I'm gonna stink so bad after this. Now there's a very undercooked piece of garlic and overcooked piece together. I guess whatever ones were touching the bottom of the pan got a little more cooked, but there's very few that I would say are undercooked. I kind of like it hard like that. Well, there we got some beans. So I've made fried rice like this a couple times in the past, minus the garlic. I never mixed the fish and garlic with it, but I've made rice the same way with the hamburger meat and the canned chicken, canned vegetables, minute rice that I made with broth, and it's very good. This is even more delicious with butter instead of oil. Usually I just use a teeny bit of oil, like 2 tablespoons. But I use an entire stick of butter, which is what, 8 tablespoons? That's very unhealthy, but it tastes so good. The garlic's a good touch. So usually the vegetables I'd saute them, get them a little hard before throwing everything in there. Also fry the rice a little bit in very hot oil. Couldn't do that today. Couldn't get the heat to do that. But that being said, this fried rice tastes better than it usually does when I make it. But I'm still looking to improve it a little. Oh yeah, I forgot. I did add this, which does help a lot with the flavor. All good. Very good. It kind of reminds me of, I bet that's really unhealthy, all the butter. But a lot of things that are very good aren't healthy. When I'm camping, I usually keep one piece on top because random debris will get on it. This has a lot of butter and oil on it, so expect this to flare up fast. Let's see how we're doing in there. Throw it in. Let's see how fast that flares up for us. That went fast. It's acting like an accelerant being covered in that butter. It's not flammable like gasoline, but it is combustible like a diesel. That's burning real hot in there. Very, very hot. All gone. Alright everybody, I hope today's video was interesting. Thanks for watching and have a great day. We're all ready to go.